Good evening, good evening, good evening. Apologies in advance for my voice and if I cough or sneeze. It's been a snot cough monster Christmas in the Patterson household. Oh, I've had it. The kids have had it. Pete's the only one that has escaped, and Eric hasn't had it either. So hopefully my voice will hold out. Hi, Victoria. Thank you. Hi, Maria. Good morning, Sephora. New Year's Eve in New Zealand. That is just so mad. So mad. Hi, Karen. Oh, poor Jasmine has it too. Yeah, it's done the rounds. It's done the rounds. Good evening, Kerry. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, getting all funny things popping up on the screen. It's the first time I've switched the computer on for a week. So all these things are coming in. Good evening, Heather. Good evening. Good evening. Hi, Janet. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Purple K Cat. I love that. That's cool. Victoria's watching from the bath. I think that's a new one for us. I think that is a new one. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Good evening, Deb. Good evening or good afternoon, Rosemary. Yeah, I forget about the time zone. It's all a bit mad. My little brain. Maria, oh, thank you, Maria. Maria, I am actually better than I have been. I'm upright. It's a good position. I missed you guys. I had to cancel Wednesday, so we'll go with it. We'll go with it. I'm feeling better than I was, so hopefully the voice will hold out. You lot just have to do all of the comments, that's all. Hi, Samantha. Good evening, Susan. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Charlie. Yes, so we are here this evening for this one. Nice big chunky one, look. This was so much fun to write. I'd probably say that with all of the books, but this one really was. Maria, yeah, my daughter had the lurgy, and then my son-in-law had it, and then they brought it here for us for Christmas because we like to share. Hi, Harmony. Good evening, Xenia. Lovely to chat with you. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Maria. I think candle magic is probably my favourite area of spell working. It is. Sephora likes the cover. The cover is similar to the other two books that I have had with Llewellyn, Curative Magic and A Witch for Every Season. And this is the third one with the same artist doing the cover. So it is a chunky book, David. There's a chunky book. There's a lot of stuff in there. Hi, Sabrina. My daughter's middle name, Sabrina, from Alberta in Canada, across the pond. Yeah, nice chunky book. I think this is, most of us work with candle magic. I'm not trying to teach Granny to suck eggs. I really am not. But I wanted to get it all down, stuff that I've worked with, ways that I've worked with things. And I wanted to really focus on it being a practical magic book. There's no chapters on the history of candles or yawn, anything like that. It's all getting your hands dirty. And what I've tried to do is create a book that you can use as a guide, you can use as inspiration, you can use as prompts to create your own candle magic. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to do it. What I'm hopefully doing is giving you the inspiration and suggestions so that you can work your own candle magic. I've tried to cover as much as I possibly could so that you can adapt it to work for you. We'll go through some of the contents. I'll talk about some areas of candle magic that I like to work with, particularly that you might not be so familiar with. because hopefully I've got some more out of the ordinary stuff in here as well. But if you've got any questions about candle magic, pop them in the comments and we'll see where it takes us. Let's see these comments. Thank you, Xenia. You've got me on the big screen. That's me. Hi, Louise. Kerry, great to have a book that focuses on one thing. Yeah, it is one of my favorite areas. So I wanted to get it all down and all in the same place. Good morning, Kim. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Janet. Oh, I've already got a book list for 2024 too. Yeah. Good evening, Amanda. Thank you, Samantha. First live with me, Kim. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully not your last. Hope we don't put you off. So it's available from all the usual places. It's already out in America. And lots of people have shared your photos with me that you've got the book already. Thank you so much for doing that. This is book number, I think we're at book number 26 or something like that now. It's still exciting. It's still really exciting when I see people holding one of my books in their sticky little palms. So thank you for sharing your photos with me. It will be out in the UK and Europe on the 1st of January. But it is obviously available for pre-order, all the usual places. Thank you, Charlie. Love candles. Yeah, love candles, love fire, rosemary. Oh, yeah, do love setting fire to things. David, 1st of January, it's out in the UK. That's all out of my hands. It's, the warehouses and stuff. Debbie has it on Kindle. Good idea. Makes it easy to search. Good idea. Victoria's bought every single one of my books. Oh, Victoria, you'll need a huge bookshelf. Thank you. Sephora, have you ever used those little thin taper candles for a quickie spell? I know the ones you mean, the ones that you light other candles with. I have bad experiences with lighting tapers. They flare up too quickly for me. But let's have a look at, now you've mentioned candles, let's have a look. I apologize for the quality of the video. We've had our kids to stay for Christmas, so my witchy room with my normal setup is not set up. And we're having a bathroom renovation in a couple of days, so the spare room that was my witchy setup is now full of bathroom stuff. So we're going on a wing and a prayer and a bit of gaffer tape today. So I've managed to raid a few things from my witchy cupboard, which wasn't easy to get to, but lots of different candles. So I will show you what I prefer to work with. Spell candles, sometimes called chime candles. They come in all sorts of different colors and they take about 15-20 minutes to burn, so you're not sitting there forever. If I wanted a real quick instant bam kind of candle spell, I would use a birthday cake candle because they are small, they come in different colors, and they're easy to get hold of. Xenia, the video on YouTube is always much more stable than Facebook. It's good old Facebook doing what it does. But yes, spell candles, these are my go-to. That you will find any of my spells that I work, I tend to go for these spell candles. Easy to get hold of, different colors. I love a bit of color magic. I also tend to use these little beeswax candles quite often. Again, they burn very quickly, so you don't have to sit there for hours. And if you warm them in your hands, you can slowly unroll them. I don't think my hands are warm enough at the minute. It's not that warm in here. You can slowly unroll it. It's all going to break and go horribly pear-shaped. But you can slowly unroll the wrap of beeswax. And then you can put a mixture of herbs or even little tiny crystal chips inside the candle, roll it back up, and you've got extra layers of power. And these come in all different sorts of colors as well. On a rare occasion, I work with tea lights for spells. Tea lights are quite useful. That one's not going to come out now, is it? If you can get the candle out of the holder, If you can, there we go. If you can ease the candle out of the metal tin, you can draw sigils in the bottom of the tin. You can put a few herbs in the bottom of the tin. You could even write on a slip of paper, write a petition, fold it up, put it in the bottom of the tin, put the candle back on top. You can put a few sprinkles of essential oil on top of the candle, or even a few sprinkles of herbs. Be careful because the flame will flare up, but they do take a while to burn. I tend to use tea light candles if we're in a ritual setting. You can also get tea lights. I've got some little heart-shaped ones, which are really good for love magic ones. What else we've got that you're probably familiar with? The votives. I've got Christmas ones here for some reason. Votive candles I don't generally use a lot for spell working, again, because they take too long to burn. I do, however, use the dinner taper candles, dinner candles. These make me think of 1970s dinner party tables my mum used to have. Come in all different colours. What I like with these ones is you can section them off and you can work 7-day candle spells, a bit like you would with an Advent candle. You can section them off and work with each section on a different day. That works really well for those ones. Anything that is a pillar candle, anything like this and upwards, I use for my dedication candles. I use them as my altar candles for dedicating to the goddess, to the god. I have a candle that I have dedicated for divination work. So I have a big pillar candle that I work with whenever I am reading tarot. There's all sorts of other ones as well. They are all included in here. There are all sorts of things. And I've gone through all of the different types of candles and I've literally broken them down. So spell or chime candles, I have put the general sizes and how long they generally take to burn and what type of spell or purpose they're best for. I've given some benefits. So the spell candles, easy to dress in oil and herbs, don't take too long to burn, can be easily pinned. I'll talk about pinning candles in a second. Come in a variety of colours, can be carved and inscribed, can also be used as a poppet to represent a person. And then I've given a candle spell for each of the different types of candles. So there's birthday cake candles, tea lights, votive candles, taper or dinner candles, pillar candles, the rolled beeswax ones, container or jar candles I have included as well because they can be used for magical purpose. Prayer or devotional or 7-day candles, I have included information about them as well. The 7 knob candles I've included, they work well. The novena candles, the shaped candles, obviously they come in all different sorts of shapes, so they work with your intent. The dedicated zodiac candles, scented candles I've included as well, floating candles, and hag torches. I've also covered a bit about the lighting tapers and also about candle holders. I think we forget sometimes when you're working a spell that the candle holder can add another layer of magic to your spell as well. My mouse has gone for a wander. Janet, I hope to own every book you've written. Oh, bless you, thank you. Amanda loves, yes, the beeswax ones are really good for filling with things. Very, very useful. Zenny, I love the tiny candle spells. Even HMV in Oxford Street has them. But yes, I bought some pentagram candle holders from HMV. Mad. Kerry, I use the votives or short chunky candles for dripping wax onto a lid. Yes, very good for when you've made a witch's jar, witch's bottle to cover with candle wax. Janet, let's get some of these up. Can you use the candles that come in jars? Absolutely. Jar candles, container candles, you can, if you can slip the candle out, you can put your petitions inside the candle. You can put herbs inside the candle, inside the jar, and put the candle back in it. You can draw with Sharpies. You can draw sigils or patterns on the outside of the jar or on the outside of the container. All sorts of different uses included in the box as well. Sephora, would you blow or pinch or use one of those oldie worldy cap things to extinguish the candle when you do the weekly ones? Always think blowing it out makes magic blow away. Good question. I do have a candle snuffer. I've got a dragon candle snuffer, because why wouldn't you have one? There are different schools of thoughts about snuffing candles out. I've covered them in here. I think it has to be personal choice. I've never had a problem blowing out a candle. But there is a school of thought that believes that you are blowing the energy away, that you are stopping the magic before it's done whatever it should do. I am very much of the opinion, as always, trust your instinct and what you feel it needs or doesn't need. I use the candle snuffer if I'm working with a big candle, because sometimes if you blow it, the wax can splatter everywhere. So I really use the candle snuffer just to stop the hot wax all going up the wall. You have to decide what works for you with that. I blow the candles out all the time and don't have a problem. However, if I'm working the spell, I generally let the candle burn out, so I don't have that blowing out issue. With my altar candles and my dedication ones, obviously you do blow them out each time or snuff them out. I just blow them generally, but it has to be what feels right for you. Maria, I always forget when dressing a candle with oil what it means from middle up and down. Is it to do with bringing things towards and away? It's in the book. Generally, when you dress a candle, and by dressing a candle, I mean covering it with essential oil. So if you are bringing something towards you, if you're working a prosperity spell, for example, you would draw from the top to the middle and from the bottom to the middle, because you are drawing that energy in. If you are releasing something, if you are getting rid of bad habits or negative energy, I would go from the middle to the bottom and the middle to the top, because you are getting rid of that energy. Some people draw from the top right to the bottom, or from the bottom right to the top. It's entirely up to you. Again, go with what feels right for you. Samantha, there's spells in the book. Now, I have given different spells. So for each of the different types of candles, I've given a spell example. So container or jar candles, I have given a container candle happiness spell. I've told you what you need for it, given you the words for it and the instructions. And I've given an example of a spell for each of the different types of candles. What I haven't done is given you a whole book of bog standard spells, because what I wanted to do was to give you the methods and the information to work your own. So if I give you an example, there is a whole chapter on my suggestions, if you like. So let's have a look at this. So this is confidence and courage. I know you can't see all the words there, but this is a chapter on confidence and courage, and I've got sections on all the different intents. So what I've given you is a choice of colours. So all the colours of candle I would use for confidence and courage: orange, yellow, brown, red. Pick one. I've given a suggested carrier oil: sunflower, olive, and sesame. Then I've given you the dressing direction: dress the oil towards you to bring in confidence and courage. Then I've given suggestions of herbs or oils that you might like to dress the candle in or add to the candle. So for confidence and courage, I've got bay, benzoin, black pepper, daisy, fennel, lavender, myrrh, oak, sesame, sunflower, tea, thyme, and yarrow. Nothing exotic, nothing expensive. Then I've also given symbol suggestions. Now, these can be drawn on the candle container. They can be drawn on the bottom of the tea light tin. They can be carved into the candle itself. They can be drawn on the petition that you put with the candle. So symbols for confidence and courage. Arwen, circle, pentagram, sun, arrow, or horns. Then I've given you rune suggestions, and my thanks to my team, because runes are not my forte. So I did rely on, thank you very much, Ness, for your information on the runes. So I've given you a list of the runes, and I've also given you a list of the ogham, that symbols you might prefer to use to carve into or draw onto your candle. Then I've given a suggestion for petitions, what colour ink you might like to write the petition in, or what specific paper you might like to write it on. Then I've given you numbers that are associated with that particular intent. Then I've given you lunar phases and solar phases and days of the week, planets, zodiac signs, all that tie in with that particular intent, but I've given you a choice. Then I've given you tarot card suggestions. You might like to use a tarot card signifier to stand with your candle spell. And then I've given you crystals that you might like to place with the candle magic spell. And then I've given the element. And finally, I give a little chant suggestion. So I wrote a little chant for you to use should you wish to. I've also added a bit about extras. So for example, if you are working a candle magic spell to change direction or to decide where you're going, you might like to lay a map out and put your candle magic spell on the map. Just extra bits that will all add power. So there's all the different intents have these lists, and then you can pick the bits that work for you and create your own spell from that. You don't have to use all of them. Just pick the bits that you like and you can create your own magical spells from it. Oh, lots of questions. Let's all get over these. So yes, there are spells in the book, but I have given you the material to create your own. Maria, I can never find the candles with the different sections that are coloured. The 7 knob candles, I don't buy them because they're always expensive. I use one of these and I section it off. I'll show you how I section it off. I usually use pins, but because the house is upside down, I couldn't find any pins. So I've got nails. So I would section the candle off with nails. I'd stick a nail in and section them off. I love pinning candles. It's a brilliant way of working candle magic. And yes, there's a whole section on it. So I would section the candle off with nails or pins. And then you've got your 7 or 9 or however many sections you want. You can even dress each section individually with a different oil or different herbs if you want to. So I section them off rather than buying the expensive 7 knob candles. I section them off myself. Pinning actually is brilliant. Let's talk about that while we're here. So if you're working a spell, take my spell candle and I will just intuitively put a pin or a small nail in partway down the candle. I don't know if you can see that. No, there. Work all your spell out, set it in place, light the candle. When the candle gets down to where the nail or the pin is, the wax melts, obviously, and the pin is released. When that pin releases, the magic is released. That's when your spell goes into action. You can physically watch that energy release as your spell starts to work. So I quite like working with pins because there's a visual representation that energy is working. The other thing you can do is if you have a decision or a choice, let's say yes or no to a question, you would put one pin in the candle for yes. This is where the pins with the coloured heads come in useful, because then you know which one's which. So one pin for yes, and on the same level, a pin for no. So you would light your candle, having put your yes and no pins in, light the candle, ask a question, and you have to watch it. So don't put the pins right down at the bottom, because take forever. Watch and see which pin falls out first. The pin that falls out first is the answer to your question. If you like doing divination with weird and wonderful things, you can put several pins all the way around a candle on several levels. Burn it with the purpose of an answer to your question, a divination reading. Once all the candles burnt and all of the pins have come out, they will lie around the candle and they will be in a particular pattern or shape, and you can read the pins that have fallen. Pinning is brilliant. It's great fun. Right, let's cover some of these. Rosemary, in your experience, are there certain things that cause flare sparks when the fire burns to that point of where they are? You have to be really careful, and I have put a warning in here. If you, particularly with things like tea lights, I do it sometimes with the big pillar candles as well, where you put oil and herbs in the top. They're going to catch. The flame is going to catch that and it's going to spark. Particularly the woody things like cinnamon. Anything that you put near that flame is going to spark and it's going to flare. Never, ever, ever leave a candle unattended. I have scorch marks on my furniture to prove why you shouldn't. Anything that is burnable material is going to spark and flame. Charlie, when with young children, could you use the battery ones as you put the intention in and switch it off when you feel the spell is switched off? What do you think? I think the battery operated candles are brilliant, particularly for rituals, if you're outside and things. I think for working magic, for me, it has to be specifically the flame. Flame is creation. Flame is destruction. It is the element of fire. It burns, it destroys, it creates. That's the whole purpose of flame is recreation, is creation, is transformation. I like the idea. For me, it wouldn't work because there's no flame, there's no fire element. However, if you are working with children, it's a good way to get them started because batteries are an energy. So you could work off the energy of the battery with that. Yeah, I guess it's a good starting point. It wouldn't work for me because I want that. I like burning stuff. Let's be honest. But yeah, that's a good suggestion, Charlie, for starting children off. Janet, I've saved my jars from candles to burn tea light candles and store herbs. We're witches. We always have jars. Victoria, use a candle snuffer to avoid setting my house on fire. It is wise. If you've got a big candle or several candles, blowing the flame is going to send hot wax splattering everywhere as well. Kerry, what do you do with the leftover candle bit after the spell is done? There's a whole chapter on disposing of your spells. I think I wrote a blog on it somewhere too. With these candles, there's very rarely anything much left. They burn right out. Whenever I'm working a candle spell, I try and make sure I've got enough time to watch the candle and burn it right out. So there's very rarely anything left. I don't reuse candle stubs for other spells. I dedicate each candle to a specific spell, which is actually, if you're strapped for cash, then a big box of these white ones is perfect. You don't have to buy loads of colours. You can even buy the big tapered ones. And if you're very clever, you can chop them up into smaller sections. So I don't tend to reuse leftover candles. I try and burn them right down. So there's very rarely any leftover candle stub left. Depending on the spell, if there is, if it's something I'm releasing or trying to get rid of, I will put the remnants in the trash because I want rid of them. If it is something prosperity or something that I'm trying to draw to me, if I've used herbs and biodegradable items, then I might put them in the compost or bury them. Generally, there's very little left of the actual candle because candle wax doesn't biodegrade generally. So it does get put in the trash if there's anything left. Xenia, what do you think about the ready-made jar candles with dried herbs and crystals inside? I cringe because of the poor crystals in the heat and the danger of dried herbs catching fire. You see these herb crystal jar candles everywhere. You do. Some of them are amazing, and I've had some really good ones. Check a reliable source. If you know they're from someone that knows what they're doing and knows how they're creating and making them properly, then you should be okay. If the crystals are cheap, if the ingredients are cheap, which goes with any candle really, if you're buying a candle and it's, just check that the ingredients are good ones. You don't want to be setting fire to a candle that's going to release lots of chemicals into the air for a start. Not for you, not for your pets, not for your family. But yes, I know what you mean, Xenia. There are some real cheap, bad versions of them. The glass can crack, the crystals can explode, the herbs can catch fire. I think we're back to watching candles always. Don't leave candles unattended, but make sure if you are buying the ones that are ready-made and they are full of all that stuff, make sure they're from a reliable source, but they still need to be watched. You still need to be mindful of them. Ina, have you ever used candle wax for cleansing purposes? My grandma used to melt candles, pour it on water. She was able to read images, cleanse negative energies, predict the future. It's in here. Scrying with candle wax is absolutely fascinating. I love water scrying anyway, but dropping wax onto water makes some amazing patterns. I'm sure you have the gift. You just need to practice with it. We all have psychic abilities. It's just finding one that works for us and tapping into those energies and being confident enough. Wax scrying is great fun. Give it a try. Bit of practice, that's all it takes. Good point, Samantha. Prefer to make my own, always feel silly reciting someone else's spell. Now, I've given you guidance in here. I have given you some templates. I have given you suggestions. What I always say is make it personal. Spells from other people's books, spells from the internet, brilliant. They give you a guideline. They give you a template to work from. Always tweak them. Always make them personal. It adds more power to it. Maria, I usually throw it away if the spell is done, unless you've left it to burn all the way. Yeah. Thank you, Petra. It is a compendium, Xenia. I like that word. It is compendium. Brilliant. Hi, Hillary. Kerry, why can a white candle be used to replace all the other candles, and does that include black candles? White is devoid of colour. So it is a multi-purpose, general, everything because it doesn't have the color. So white works really well for everything, all kind of spell. It's like a blank canvas, I think. So you can do whatever you want with it. Yes, I have used white ones instead of black candles. The spell candles, they come in all sorts of colors anyway, and they're quite cheap to work with. But I have used a white candle for anything and everything, and that includes black ones as well, because it is blank canvas, and you add to it. Then you can dress it, you can add to it, you can add any layer of power or magic or intent to it. So if all you're ever going to do is buy white candles, they're brilliant because they cover everything. Sephora, just had to say goodbye to my 16-year-old dog. Oh, Sephora, big hugs to you. Strong draw to having a candle going while this is so raw. No, not magic per se, but there's something meditative about it. Just lighting a candle is magic, Sephora, and I do it. Absolutely do it. It can be really soothing. Absolutely. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, James. Kerry, on the sections, are they for one intention? Oh, several different ones. Oh, lots and lots. I'd show you or tell you how to make deity candles and god and goddess candles and element candles as well. The big pillar candles that you dedicate, I've given you some suggestions for those as well. So what have we got in here? Okay, there's templates and sections for cursing, should you feel the need, uncrossing and unhexing, stress relief, removing obstacles, cleansing and purifying, releasing, communication, friendship, happiness, strength, confidence and courage, gratitude. Turn the page, love, binding, grounding, psychic and spirit work, protection, healing, health, change and transformation, balance, insight, decisions, directions. There's lots. Clarity, insight, truth, all sorts. And for each one, I've given lists of suggestions for you to pick and choose. Really likes the idea of the pins. Pinning's great fun. It is really good fun to work with. David, wax reading, is there a section? Yep, there is. Was in the kitchen getting a pizza out the oven. Oh, now I'm hungry. Yes, there is a section on wax reading. It's very simple and great fun to do. It is. I am Stanley and his pins. They do, Janet. The sewing pins with the coloured tips work really well for pinning your candles, particularly if you're asking a question and you need to differentiate between which one's a yes and a no. If they've got different coloured heads, that's much easier to see. If you are doing divination and you could put pins of all different colours that represent different things, so it could be your health, your love light, your finances. You could have a different colour headed pin for each one and then read that as it falls out. Very, very useful, the coloured head pins. Hilary, I suppose if both pins fall out at the same time, it's an undecided answer. You got it. James, electric battery works for me if you're away and in a setting where you can't have an open flame. Yes, they are very useful for that kind of thing. What I've also included, if any of you have lanterns or oil lamps, there's a section on working magic with lanterns and oil lamps as well, which is interesting to do. Charlie, I like burning stuff too. Oh, yeah. Just drawn to looking at and sitting at fires the flame. Tell myself it's from our ancestors. I'm not a fire starter. I'm with you on that one. Let's stick to that. Rosemary loves the smell of burning. Yeah, fire. Yeah, good. Good evening, Lee. Good evening, Ruth. Hilary, I'm all right. My voice is just hanging in there. It's boring now. It is boring, but there you go. Sephora, this sounds like a compulsory purchase for Knowledge Bank. I love it. It's very good. The 7-day candles, like I said, that you can buy them in 7 sections, but I just pin them on one of these candles because it's cheaper. Working 7-day spells is brilliant. You can add the energy of each day because each day of the week has different energies to it. You'll be working with a couple of different moon phases as well. You could do it at different times of the day to work with different solar phases, and you build upon the energy each day. Monday you start, or Sunday, depending, and then you build. You light and burn each section each day, and each day you're adding more and more power to your spell until the 7th day when it's burnt and it releases. And that's a whole lot of power built up to release for spell working. It's great fun. Claire, you can let spirit take control of the flame to communicate. I have included different ways of reading the flame. how the flame moves, how the flame burns. Make sure there's no draft, obviously, but the way that the flame moves, excuse me, the way that the flame moves on a candle can tell you how the spell's going. It can give you an idea of what might be needed to boost the spell, how successful it's going to be. I've given suggestions for reading the flame in the book as well. Kerry, using the pins, can you do a spell for abundance and health on the same candle? I would never mix intents. However, with a 7-day candle spell, you can mix positive or releasing. It has to have the same theme. So on Monday you could have confidence. Tuesday you could have good communication. Wednesday you could have self-esteem. You can mix them over the week, but keep them to the same theme. Abundance, I would go more along abundance of happiness and positive energy rather than prosperity type abundance. Keep it to a theme, but as always, trust your intuition. Hi, Barbara. David, what's your take on candles not lighting or burning out before burning down? It's in here. I think it depends on each individual situation. You have to read the energy because every spell is going to be different and other factors will come into it as well. It would depend how well you've set up the candle spell. It would depend on your intent, how strong your will is, how strong your intent is. I'm not going to work candle magic at the moment because I'm under the weather. It'll go horribly wrong. If I tried to work one now, the likelihood is that the candle would go out before it finished because I'm not fully compass mentis at the moment. Lots of factors come into it. They're not all omens. Bear that in mind. Sometimes it is because someone opened the door on the landing and a draft has come out and blown the candle out. It might be that it's just not the right time. It might be that you haven't put all of the process in place. You'll need to sit and spend some time if that happens to decide whether it is just a mundane reason or whether something else is in play. Not always omens, but definitely worth looking into. Charlie, loving this. So much info. The Essential Book, Candle Magic, love it. Lanterns too, you've got it all covered. I hope so. Milfred Hubble would have this book in her school bag. Oh, great. Lisa, candle gazing is great to do to focus attention while the candle is burning. Candle gazing is really good. What I've actually included in here as well are some energy exercises, channeling your energy, visualization, some visualization exercises to help you with your magic. One of those is watching the candle flame, because that's a really good visualization exercise to hone your skills. Hillary, didn't they put pins or nails in candles as a kind of alarm clock at one point? I understand they did, yes. Wouldn't wake me up, but a fire would. Yeah. But it works. It does work because when it's burnt, ping. It would fall down. It depends, I guess, how big the pin or nail is as to how much loud a noise it would make. Karen, I like to put a candle where it reflects on the water of a scrying pool. Yes, I love to scry with water. A full moon is a brilliant time. If you can get the reflection of the full moon on the water, it's brilliant. If you can't, a candle flame works brilliantly because it gives movement to your surface of your water and it helps you get a reading, get some images there. Oh, Sephora, simple candle has so much power. It really does. It goes right from blowing out a birthday candle to make a wish, right through to grand. I've included one of my very favorite candle magic spells in here, which is a big one for me, and that is 13. Using the magic of 13. There's a 13 candle magic spell in there, which is the biggest one that I do. So that goes right the way through. But candle magic is simple, but it is so powerful, and it can be just blowing out your birthday cake candle right up to the full-on ritual with all the bells and whistles and everything in between. Thank you, Victoria. I'm hoping it will inspire people. I am not telling you what to do or exactly how to do things. I'm not telling you it's right or wrong. Hopefully, I'm giving you the material to work with to create your own candle magic practice. Maria says candles are good to find images if you just gaze past it. You have to kind of unfocus, don't you? Hi, Kerry. Eric's here. He's in the chair beside me, but because I'm not in my usual setup, I've only got one webcam today. He's not far. I can reach him from here. He's fast asleep. Good question, Kerry. So I do carve on candles quite a lot, and I think it's a brilliant way of focusing that candle, focusing the intent. You can use a nail. You could use a nail to carve into the side of the candle. You can do it on these little, it's not so easy on the wax ones. I think I nearly just poked my eye out with a nail in, but you can carve on the side of these little candles. If they're this sort of size, I would go with a very small image or an initial. If you're trying to write someone's name along there, it's going to take you a while, and it's not a very big space to work with. Nails work very well. What I actually use is a tattoo needle. Myself and the girls have been very honoured to have sacred tattoos from the lovely Susie. And she gives you the tattoo needle afterwards, which I love using to carve with, particularly if the spells I'm working are for me, because it brings blood magic in. The tattoo needle has been used on me for my sacred tattoos. And it's upstairs. It's about this long, and it's got a lovely point on it, and that's brilliant for carving into the side of the candles. But a bit, and you want a big nail, really, like, you know, something that you can wield quite easily. You can use a vegetable knife. It's not quite as easy. But if all else fails, you can write on your candles with Sharpies. It doesn't necessarily have to be carved into there. It can be written on there with Sharpies. That's a good one. Maria uses a toothpick. Excellent idea. Thank you, Kerry. Charlie just saw the number 1919 and wondered if it was something to note, and then saw it again later on a different clock. Taking note of this at candles, numerology is not my thing. That's maths. But definitely, if you've seen it twice, take a note of it. Hilary, heard something about black mirrors and candles helping with divination. Is that right? Black mirrors I love. I associate black mirrors with the crone goddess, and because I work with the Kelech, perfect. Black mirrors you can make very easily yourself. They are just another divination tool, but they work exactly the same way that a scrying bowl does. It is a reflection. And if you place a candle in front of it, you've got the flickering of the flame on the black reflective surface. So it helps give movement. It helps give you images and shapes that you can read from. So yes, perfectly. Claire, do you wrap a strand of your hair around it, or hair products too flammable? If you want to tie in, I'm sure you want to tie in your own energy to it. I use my tattoo needle because that brings me into it. Strand of hair works really well. Nail clippings work really well as well. Yeah, don't use hairspray near candles. That's not a good idea. Kerry, use one of those fine tip pens, metal tips with it's out of ink. That's a very good idea. Very good idea. Xenia has hawthorn thorns. Yes, I've got Susie gave me some hawthorn, some blackthorn thorns, and they're quite long. They're very good for carving into candles as well. Anything that's got a sharp point, really. Yeah, Karen, blackthorn thorns. Yeah, thorns are brilliant. Even the really big rose thorns, not quite so easy to hold, but very good. And of course, you're then adding the energy of the blackthorn, or you're adding the energy of the rose or whatever plant. You're adding that to it as well. So there's lots of things. Let me tell you what else is in here. We've got a few minutes left, so if you've got any more questions, do ask. So I've covered the basics. I've given a chapter on actually working with the flame and the way that flame and fire are destructive but creative, but are transformative. That's why candle magic works so well, because the fire of the flame is transformation. I've covered the boring ethics and responsibility as well, because you have to. I've also included a few bits about working with energy and visualization, building intent, the timing of your spells. I've included a bit about words, chants, and rhymes as well, because if you're working with a candle magic spell, you have to put across what you want your spell to do. And whether you work with a chant, a rhyme, or the words themselves, I've given you some hints, tips, and ideas. And then I've given you suggestions on selecting your candle, cleansing and charging your candle, which I think quite a few people forget to do at the beginning. You get your box of candles arrive. It's always worthwhile to cleanse them before you start. Charging your ingredients as well, then dressing your candles, adding in the layers, adding your herbs and spices. There's a bit about decorating and adorning your candles. I have included lighting and snuffing your candle and all of the do's and don'ts about that. Dancing flames, the burn rates of the candles, ending the spell, disposing, reusing candles, deconsecrating. You can, if you've got a big candle and you've used it for something, you don't want to waste it. There is a way of deconsecrating it. There is a way of removing the energies so that you can use it again if you want to. I've also put a bit about undoing and reversing candle spells if they go horribly wrong too. There's another chapter about all the types of candles and candle holders, because I think that's quite important too. Then there's a whole bit about adding to it. There's a bit about methods and ways of working. There's a bit about petition papers, name papers, working with magical ink. Then there's a whole chapter on carving and inscribing your candles. And then there's a whole chapter on pinning, working with pinning your candle. I've also included a bit about wax, charms, and talismans, because if you're working with candle wax, then you have a material available for you to make charms and talismans with. Candle grids I've included, candle poppets. If you have never worked with wax poppets, they are fun as well. There's also a way of merging candles using 2 or 3 or even more candles so that the flames and the candles merge with your spell. There's also a method of passing the flame on from one candle to another. There's a chapter on those as well. Then there's a whole section on amplifying your magic, really giving your candle magic an extra boost, literally going large with it. Color magic, sensory magic, ingredients, oils, herbs, spices, all of the timings, zodiacs, planets. Then I've included a bit on sigils, shapes and symbols, numbers, other bits that you can add or inscribe or write onto your candle. Then you've got this third section that's got all of these templates in with all of the suggestions for all of the different types of intents. I've also included a bit on candles in rituals and candles for the Sabbats, meditation candles, divination candles. I have included a little bit at the end about making your own candles, but it is quite small because I'm lazy and I don't make candles. So I have tried. I've given you a simple way of doing it. But most of this is about creating your own magical practice. Debbie, tried tying thread around a spell candle, but it wouldn't burn. If I help things along with candles, does that alter things? Everything you add to a candle will add another layer of power to it. Think about why it didn't burn. I would also suggest thinking about your ingredients. If you are tying thread to a candle, make sure it's a natural thread. I tend to use twine, garden twine, if I am working with anything binding, anything that needs to burn, cord cutting. I will work with natural twine because it burns. You're adding layers to your candle. That's adding more magic, that's adding more power. If the thread didn't burn, look at the source of or your meaning of that thread. Why was that thread on there? And why do you think it didn't burn? It might be a practical reason in that it's not a very flammable piece of thread. It might be part of the spell wasn't quite right or wasn't meant to be at the time. Kerry, I have a lovely goddess candle from Glastonbury, but haven't used it yet, waiting for my intuition to guide me to what goddess to dedicate it to. Once chosen, do you light it at certain times or certain days, dates associated with them? I have, I don't think it's down here anymore, have moved most, everything's moved around a minute. I have a candle dedicated to the Kalach that's on my altar upstairs. I light it every time I want to connect with her. No certain times of the day, no certain times of the week, just when I want to connect with her. I have another one for Belanus. I have another one for Sulis. I light them when I want to connect with them specifically. If you haven't got a particular goddess that you want to connect with, dedicate the candle to the goddess as a whole, the divine. It doesn't have to be to one specific goddess. Sephora, is it okay to burn a candle in your cauldron or should you have a separate container? Cauldron is brilliant for burning candles in because it's safe. What I tend to do if I'm burning a candle in my cauldron is put a layer of sand on the bottom so that you don't end up trying to chip melted wax off of the bottom of your cauldron. So yeah, cauldron's brilliant for lighting candles in, but I do put sand there so that the melted wax comes out really easily. Charlie, is there any spell that a candle would not be good for to be avoided? Not that I can think of. Not that I can think of. I don't know. Anybody else got any thoughts on that? I think I've pretty much done candle magic for everything. Off the top of my head, no, nothing I can think of. Hilary, last time I made candles, they had holes in them. I ruined so many saucepans making my own candles. It was way too much of a faff for me. Hats off to anybody that does make them. Maria, feeling this will be my second favourite books next to the grimoire. Thank you. Karen, I make magical candles for different things, like to empower self-love, depending on what I need for one. I think there are some brilliant artisans that make some wonderful candles. In actual fact, the very lovely Heather gave me a candle for Yule that was made in the earth. It's all lumpy and bumpy shaped because the wax was poured into the soil. Amazing. There are some very, very clever people out there, but you can make your own candle spell from a bought candle by adding your own things to it, by pinning it, by carving into it, by dressing it with oil, by dressing it with herbs. You can make it your own. Oh, Sephora, any tips on getting melted wax out of the carpet? Greaseproof paper and a very cool iron. Put the greaseproof paper over the wax and put the cool iron over the top and just keep running it over. The wax should lift off onto the greaseproof paper. Tammy loves making her own candles. Hats off to you for being so talented. They are so versatile and there are so many amazing ones, but it doesn't have to be fancy. It really doesn't. You can work magic with a I bet most of us got a candle of some sort for Christmas for Yule. Even the scented ones, you can work magic with them. They're so versatile. If you've got a container or a jar, you can draw on them with Sharpies. You can paint on them with glass pens. There's just so many different things that you can do to add in the different layers to it. And if you buy the shaped candles, that's a whole other chapter on working with shaped candles. Karen, me and my friend made some for you. I've got 3 pot towels covered in wax. It does get everywhere, doesn't it? It does get everywhere. Kerry's suggesting, to get wax off the carpet, kitchen paper or greaseproof paper and the iron. It does seem to be the best way. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. Bathroom renovation as well. I'm not looking forward to that. Tammy loves adding essential oils for more intention. Everything that you do you can work magic with a candle like that. Your will and your intent play a big part in it, but you can add to that power. You can boost that power by adding in all of the other things, and really, really simple things too. A heart, carving a heart shape for a self-love spell. Drawing a pound or a dollar sign onto the side of a candle for a prosperity spell, dressing it with essential oil. And you don't even need loads of essential oils. What I've done in the book, I've included basic oils as well, things that you've got in your kitchen cupboard. Olive oil, sesame oil, sunflower oil. They've all got magical purpose. They can all be used to dress your candle with. The magical herbs and spices, the ones I've included in here, are all from your kitchen cupboard or from your garden. Nothing expensive, nothing exotic or extravagant. It's just about using your imagination and your intuition to know and to build the layers up. If you haven't tried pinning candles, do give it a go. It is fascinating. Karen, my friend got me a woman's body shaped candle for Goddess Group. It's beautiful. See, I have a problem with the shaped candles because I never want to burn them because it seems mean. How you get the animal shaped candles? I don't want to set fire to them. Thank you, Hilary. Rosemary, there'll be no candles available after this video until February. That would be good, wouldn't it? Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions after this or after reading the book, you know where I am. You can always find me. It is available in America now. It is available to pre-order and will be available in the UK and Europe from the 1st of January. Make it your own. It's a prompt, it's a guide, it's a book of inspiration, hopefully, so that you can create your own candle magic practice. I do hope you enjoy it. As I say, you know where I am if you've got any questions. Only a couple of days, till 1st of January. I know it's a bit mad, isn't it? This year has gone. Charlie has tree-shaped candles. They're too lovely to burn. I know. Oh, I know. Purple Cat, yes. I've got several books out next year. Dragon Magic will be June, yes. And we've got something a bit special planned for that, myself and the girls as well. Karen's going to have a go at using ready-made candles. Making them with essential oils gets on my chest as I have asthma. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? With a lot of the things, it's the strength of the smell as well, isn't it? Yeah, everyone's going to be going buying pins now or nails. I got this out of the DIY cupboard. Nails to put into your candles as well. Oh yes, Sephora, thank you. Yes, the new podcast that I am very humbled to be the presenter of, the Pagan Portal podcast, produced by Moon Books Publishing and presented by moi. 5th of January, the first one goes live on Spotify and all the other usual places that you get your podcasts from. It will also go live to the Moonbooks YouTube channel. Morgan Daimler was the first guest. We could have talked for days. It was fascinating talking to her. But yes, Pagan Porter's podcast goes live 5th of January, and then every 2 weeks from then. It was fabulous talking to her. So I know I didn't say nude podcast. New podcast, Pagan Porter podcast. Thank you for joining me, Samantha. Thank you, James. Yeah, Lee, shaped candles, can't burn them. It's just mean. Nails, pins, setting things on fire. Xenia, we're dangerous. We like to live dangerously. Eric's up. Eric is now up. Thank you so much. Karen, the podcast will be, it's not live, it's pre-recorded. It'll be wherever you get your normal podcasts from, or it'll be on the Moonbooks YouTube channel. So you can listen to it on your normal podcast platforms, or you can watch it on the Moonbooks YouTube channel. 5th of January, the first one. Watch it anytime. Thank you. Buy the book to keep Eric in the comfort that he's become accustomed to. And as always, thank you for joining me. I'll be back to my Wednesday chats as well. They will continue. We've got monthly Kitchen Witch open to everyone, free online rituals as well. Check out the Kitchen Witch Common Facebook page. If you work any candle spells from the book, if you are inspired by any candle info from the book, do please show photos on the Kitchen Witch Common Facebook group. We'd love to see and hear about them. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. This hour goes so quickly. Have a fabulous, hello, I have a dog. Have a fabulous new year. Blessings to all of you, and huge big thank yous for your continued support, and I will see you all again in 2024. Thank you, everyone.